think it's about what you're saying is or trying to summarize it. It's about consistency. You need consistency between the code of conduct and what the people at the top say and what the employees see expressed in their evaluation systems and reward systems.
Yeah, and I think that early and often is better than late and big, right? So, every criminologist will tell you that the best way to send signals about right and wrong is small fines early, right? Don't wait until behavior escalates. Small fines, small signaling devices, and all these other pieces of social reinforcement are really powerful so that behavior doesn't get bigger. Actually, there are so many tools in the toolkit. So when we talk about performance systems, we are usually talking about tangible benefits and rewards. But think about less formal benefits and rewards. Think about intangible benefits. Think about, who gets celebrated in the office. Think about, who gets a pat on the back, who gets a good word, who gets brought up in the meeting as an example of somebody who did a great job, and not just the meeting of his or her peers, but, is the example that the CEO calls on, right? All of those are tremendously important signaling devices too. It has to do with the permeation of this through the organization. And that's how you start getting a culture, which then self-reinforces, because those are the examples that are pulled up. And by the way, this can't be done in a hypocritical way or it backfires really, really badly. But if people who are doing ethical acts are actually rewarded, and rewarded in both the formal system and the informal system, you will then start seeing everybody else model their behavior off of that. And you will start seeing all of these small checks come into place where maybe the inappropriate behavior around the water cooler gets quashed because nobody laughs, right? Or the attempt to restate the accounting numbers, actually right there, a coworker says, I'm not comfortable with this. This is really not what we should be doing. And it never goes beyond that, right? It's the small checks. It's the pieces of self-reinforcement that, compliance officers may never have their hands on.
Coming to the second question, which would be your 3 or 4 most important do's or don'ts at the moment you are designing the reward system, the evaluation system, performance, whatever you call it?
Well, I think I would be very practical and I'd say get top management buy-in, explain what you are doing and what you need from them. If you can get that, that will make your jobs and lives much easier. I'd also say this is a little bit counterintuitive. Move people around, get flesh blood in areas, fresh perspective. Often what we have is systems where they've worked with the same people for way too long. They get too comfortable. They know that somebody's going to cover their back if they start embezzling or whatever it is, right? You need to make sure that there are new people coming through different parts of the organization so that groupthink and that rigidity of thought doesn't build up. So I would say that's really important, and it's surprisingly not talked about as often as it should be. But these ideas of making sure that you're always refreshing the perspectives inside different parts of the organization. That's good for innovation, but it's really, really important for ethics and compliance. Also, I'd say the need to protect psychological safety. So allowing people, as you're bringing new people through different groups, allowing them to say unconventional things, and that's okay, right? Maybe there's another way we should design this product. Maybe we should market in this area. Those kinds of things, and they're sitting there in a group, and you want to make sure that it's okay to come up with new ideas. It's okay to challenge, the way that this was done before. And that can feel disruptive to an organization, but it's actually tremendously healthy, and it gets you much better results. And that has to do, that point about psychological safety, creating a speak up culture so that you hear about ethical violations early, that you can act on them, you can deal with it, and protecting people from retaliation. And then finally, I would just say, be reasonable about and deeply evaluate the goals of performance systems. If you have a quota system, reconsider it. Think about what it is you actually want to reward within an organization. Is it widgets produced, or is it innovation for new widgets? Or is it some other thing that has to do with the quality of how people can contribute to the organization? Remember, there's a very big difference between how we set goals and how those goals are understood and lived. I think it's really important not to make compliance about surveillance. and oversight and, a police state. Often very well-meaning compliance officers don't understand how badly this backfires and how it leads to sabotage, why employees leave. In fact, often your best employees will leave under that kind of regime. Thinking about that interaction and thinking about how to get people to pick up the mantle of ethics themselves so that you can back out of it. Which also, a similar point, another don't own the territory yourself, right? Don't muscle people out of the field of ethics. Ethics is about ownership. You need to have people understand that ethics is their issue. Ethics is their problem. Ethics is in their lived lives and experience. There's a phenomenon of moral licensing where actually we have seen that sometimes when an ethics officer is appointed, you actually get more unethical behavior within the organization because other people say, well, ethics is that person's problem, not my problem. No, it's really important that this is everyone's issue. And I understand that sometimes compliance officers feel like, okay, I have to be the face of this territory. I have to tell everyone that I'm here and the rest of it. Be careful about that. You want to be inclusive. You don't want people to engage in moral licensing and figure ethics is your problem, not theirs. And then finally, I think it's really, really important to do justice. I think it's important that when things come up, that when you see things, that the organization does the right thing and does the right thing consistently, transparently, and with the right signaling. Explaining these are the moments in which the company has the chance to explain who it is and who it wants to be, who we are.
To ensure that these issues find their way into the designing of evaluation and incentive systems. Do you think compliance officers should be involved in designing these systems? And if so, where do they fit in?
I think they absolutely have to be involved. This is compliance. Designing of these systems is everything about what it's going to be like to live in this company and to make sure that this company and the people within the company engage in ethical behavior. The point for compliance officers is obviously you have a reporting out function, right? You need to tell governmental entities and regulators and the rest of it that the company is doing well. But in order to be able to say that, you have to be involved in all parts of the company. You have to be involved in the performance systems. You have to be involved in what's going on with personnel. You have to be involved in, are people rotating through different parts of the organization? And is there psychological safety? And are there bullies places that are actually reducing the profit for the corporation? If you are in a situation of literally trying to put out fires, the first place to look is where there's massive turnover. There's something going on there that is not healthy. And often in the conversations can't just start and end with, what accounting misstatements are there here today? It really has to be, what is the experience of being in this unit? What is this experience with your boss? The number one reason why people leave their jobs is because of their boss, not because of the pay. There's something going on where the boss's expectations are unreasonable, the boss is abusive in supervision, there's an unhealthy climate, there's hypocrisy, there's something happening there. And that is how compliance frankly adds, by fixing those things, by getting better performance out of employees and out of their managers and out of every single part of the company, that's how compliance adds value. Have we created a positive ethical culture such that employees want to be here? People want to be a part of this organization. It will help you tremendously with recruiting too, by the way. The vast majority of people will take a pay cut, a massive pay cut, to work for an ethical company. It's a comparative advantage. It's a competitive issue to have a good and ethical corporate culture. It's how you get the best out of people. It's how you come up with products that your competitors don't. It's how you're profitable over the long term. And the research bears this out and shows that ethical companies are consistently more profitable year in, year out than their competitors. And they're not going to have the huge blow-ups and the huge, scandals that set them back generations.
Thank you very, very much.